Hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I'm Cheryl Brooks, your host, and tonight we have with us my guest for the evening, author Sharon C Cooper, and my guest co-host tonight is Kim Coleman Douglas. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And welcome to everyone in the audience. Let's see, we have, hi, Angela. Welcome. Facebook user. Just FYI, if you go to the top of the comments, you'll see where you can hit the link and give StreamYard permission to show your Facebook permission to give StreamYard to show your face and your name. Hi, Ola. Good evening. Sharon. Hello. Velva. Hello. All right, we'll get right into it. Again, welcome, Sharon. And can you tell us a little bit about your writing journey and when did you publish your first novel?
Okay. My writing journey actually started with a children's book.
Oh, really? Okay.
Many years ago. Many years ago, it did get published as a book, but it did get picked up as a children's play. And was called what was the name of it? But I Washed My Hands Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's kind of when it really started as far as dabbling a little bit in writing. I typically read contemporary romance, romantic suspense, and so maybe about 12 years ago, give or take. I figured I'd try to write one. And so I published my first book in April of 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. And then since then, actually the Jenkins book was book number 40.
Oh,
so
really?
It worked out well with it being, one of I think my first series actually, or maybe it might not have been a first, but I wrote a short story, Best Woman for the Job. That was my attempt to kind of, get out there and kind of see if anybody would be interested in reading a romance that involved construction women. So
okay.
That's how that started.
Now, and that's what I was going to ask you too. How did you come up with the concept of the family of in their business being in construction?
Yeah, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and I was a construction worker for 10 years. I'm a sheet metal worker by trade.
I find that so fascinating. Really?
Yeah, that seemed like a lifetime ago, but yeah.
How was it working in that field when it's, a male-dominated field?
Yeah, it started a little rough. I started apprenticeship in the first place that it was unionized, and the first place that they placed me, it was a little tough. That one was tough. I was the only female. I think it was 2 Black people, hundreds of other people. I only stayed there a few months, and then I went to my next location. I stayed there 10 years. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that was an amazing experience. I was still the only female, but I worked with some wonderful guys, super wonderful. Yeah, and learned a lot. So.
But your family, it wasn't actually a construction family as far as
my family, my parents had started a pretty large size child care center. But they've always been entrepreneurs. So that was yeah. Something that we grew up with, they were going to be doing something, but they had the child care center over 20 years. And so the concept for the Jenkins family is, we ate dinner on Sundays together.
Okay.
Not quite like the Jenkins family.
I love that too in the book.
Yeah. And that's
Uh,
so synonymous with, most, not, I won't say most, but many African American
right.
families.
Either
That,
Sunday brunch, Sunday dinner, or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Veronica.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jenkins series is a great series. I agree.
Thank you.
Ola. Um, I was going to ask you too. I know that because I love stories, and I say this all the time, that involve strong family bonds.
Mhm.
So I love. So of course, I took to this series. But how important is it for you to showcase strong family bonds in your writing?
It's super important. I grew up in a, with strong family bonds. My siblings are like my best friends, and so yeah, it's very, very, very important. And I just think, I like to I like any opportunity to put African American, families out there, because many of us, that's how we grew up, tight knit. Yeah, we'll, argue a little bit about something, but you know how, like they say, I can pick on my siblings, but you can't pick,
Right, right.
kind of like that.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you too, because when you were talking about, even though you may have conflict, and that's what I like too, is even though they were all the characters, they were very bonded, they still had real life issues and they still had their arguments.
Yeah. Get on
So
each
that,
other nerves, and
yes,
but come through when needed.
right. And I felt that was true too to our culture. Hey
Yeah.
Jennifer. What did you think, Kim, as far as the family bonds in the story?
Well, I love the family dynamic for sure
Right.
because I'm a family oriented person. Unfortunately, people that look like us doesn't necessarily get that in society. So to be able to read about it, it's encouraging, it's inspirational, and then for people that lack that in their life, that gives them hope, and it gives them,
Yeah.
especially if they're younger when they start reading, then they have like a blueprint of what they can do for their family. So
Right. Right.
I love it.
Yeah. And I tried to make the characters as unique as possible. Just to give a little variety, basically.
Yes.
Where, if you see one name, where, like, okay, Jada would never do this, or she would definitely do this. So I really tried to make them as individual as possible.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ladies. I'm coughing. I'm going to go behind the scenes just a moment.
Okay.
Okay. While she does so, let me ask something. I know writing is what you do. Is that your full-time thing now, or you do it
It
full-time?
is.
Oh,
Yeah, it is. I've been writing full time for a long time now, I guess. Actually, the years are starting to run into each other. So maybe 8 years.
oh, that's awesome.
Maybe I might not have been writing full time that whole time, but it's been quite a while. Before that, I had my own business. I was a virtual assistant, and then my background is in business and administration. So I was like an administrative manager when I lived in San Diego. Worked for University of San Diego as an administrative manager, and so yeah,
And
kind of
what
hopped
is it?
around a little.
But you know what? That makes you a well-rounded person.
I hope so.
Yes. And so then that way you can give your writing style can, come from different perspectives. You have more to lend to people as a reader because
Yeah,
you've had real life experiences.
yeah, yeah.
With that being said, when did you know writing was something that you wanted to do?
Uh, Probably. Wow, that's a good question. I think what really kept me going was just that readers were really interested in the story.
Yeah.
That's a huge ego boost, I guess. Makes you want to keep doing it, you know. So
Right.
that, and then realizing I could make a living off of it, you know. And I really enjoy working for myself. So that, you know, kind of helped keep me going. But yeah, I think with all of the feedback I get from readers, that really is kind of like, you know, gasoline for a car, you know, just kind of
I
keeps,
know that's
you know,
right.
keeps me going. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I had those moments where like I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. And you know, but usually I can kind of reel myself back in.
That's good. Let me ask this also. Whenever you were working, full time elsewhere, were you a reader, and that's what drew you to writing?
Definitely, definitely. Most writers, well, hopefully, most writers are readers. And that's, you know, and you're reading and then you just like you think about, oh, I should come up with a story. You know, that's kind of how it starts. Well, I have a story. The
Yes,
hard part is actually getting it on paper,
I know.
on paper, but yeah.
A million times, but being able to actually do it, I'm afraid of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm
So
so
then,
afraid
yeah.
about the work I am. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Cheryl. I was asking
No,
what
I
you.
appreciate you, coming on and helping. I jump right in. That gave me a chance to get this cough under control. Um, hey Ruby, how are you? I'm assuming you're
Hey,
talking
Ruby.
about Sharon. You said she did a great job with that.
Thank
um,
you. It's nice to see so many familiar names.
Antoinette, good evening.
Mhm.
Aw, thank you, Jennifer. Feelings are mutual. Thank
Angela says
you.
she loved your stories. Totally invested in the characters. I agree.
Yeah.
Someone is saying most writers are readers. Amen to that.
Yep.
And Ruby is reiterating the characters, and I agree because that's one thing with your books, and I think I said this behind the scenes. One of my favorite series of yours is Atlanta's Finest, and you do a great job with the characters, but also with the couples. I noticed even with this book, you gave us a little of each couple. They all have their individual stories.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a labor of love, let me tell you.
but you did such an amazing job because I got so caught up
Thank you.
in each story, and I felt like I could relate to them as a couple.
Oh, good. I'm glad
Yeah,
to hear that.
yeah, and I love that even though they were having their conflicts, they loved the I love the way the husbands were, that way they loved their wives through the conflict because like they kept saying the Jenkins women were something
Yeah,
else.
and they finally got that support group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I had been talking about it. I think in every book I would have one of them mention that, you know, we need to get this support group. I'm like, you know, this might be a good time for that.
That was hilarious when they kept talking about the support group for the husbands.
Yeah, yeah. Because those Jenkins women, whew, they are no joke.
Right.
Very strong.
Antoinette is asking what author inspired you to be your author.
What author inspired me? Wow, there's a few. Of course, you know, Francis Ray. As far as when
Mm,
I think of inspired, their books made me want to write or made me want
right.
to keep reading. You know, the usual Francis Ray, Brenda Jackson.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the list is pretty long. Maureen Smith.
Love
Uh,
her too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but yeah, the list is pretty long.
Her Wolfpack series is ooh man,
Yeah,
she wrote that series.
yeah, I devoured that series.
um Ruby is saying they needed a support group. I agree, Ruby. Sharon said the same thing. They needed that support group. Let's see. We have another Chanel. Glad to join you. If someone in your Kellogg, what book would you
Ooh,
recommend she starts with?
that is a good question. Um, I guess it would depend on what what they enjoy. If they enjoy a contemporary romance, I probably would recommend the Jenkins family. The Jenkins family, when those first 5 books were written, I really felt like I was just starting, just kind of still learning the trade of writing, and but they're fun books to read. As far as if you're like me and romantic suspense is your fave, I would start with the Atlanta's Finest series. Well, or the Reunited series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I probably would start with the Atlanta's Finest because that's such a fun series.
And the men in the series, oh my goodness gracious. Had me like,
yeah. So that with the Atlanta's Finest series, that first book is Vindicated.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the first book in the Jenkins family series, that one would be Still the Best Woman for the Job.
Antoinette is saying those Jenkins are something.
They really are. I get some great emails regarding those Jenkins family. People say, it's like you're talking about my family, or
Yes.
Especially with MJ, they either love or hate her, So
she was something else, I tell you. I'm like, oh my goodness, this girl. She definitely was something
I get
else.
carried away with MJ because it's just fun to write a character that's so much.
And her mom definitely got her into
oh yeah.
I was going to ask you too. I noticed of the majority of your couples are African American, but I noticed that you will sometimes have an interracial couple, like in the other series as well.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or is it just?
It just kind of happened. Actually, with Indebted, with Indebted, that was a part of the Atlanta's Finest series,
right?
With Laz and Journey. Now that came to be because I was invited to be a part of an anthology, and it was an interracial anthology.
Okay.
And so their story actually started as a short story, but I had so many emails just with that short story regarding Laz. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to broaden this up. So I wrote the first book, still tons of emails. So then he got a second one, but that's it. He'll be in the other books, but he won't get any more.
Oh no, he's one of my favorite characters that you've written. Oh my goodness. And you wrote him with so much swag. I'm like, I loved him.
Yeah, he'll show up at pretty much every book, I think. Actually, Rita asked, can I put him in every book? So I'm going to really try to have him. So far, he's in every Atlanta's Finest book.
Yeah, I would love that. And
he also shows up in my Juneteenth book that's coming out in a few
okay.
weeks. Yeah.
Oh. Good to know. Okay. But you did well writing these men too in the Jenkins family.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, I every one of them. I'm like, at first I'm like, okay, this one is my favorite, and I'm like, no, I think this one is my favorite. Every last one, because I loved, like I said, I love the way that they love their women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I want us to see more of that. Not just in books, but if we can't see it, well, a lot of us do see it day to day, but it's nice to, read about a nice guy,
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not always portrayed that way. And it's good to see and good to read. Jennifer is saying Laz is her man.
Okay.
Ruby also says she loves
he's definitely a fan favorite. Yeah.
Someone is asking what's the best part about writing the anthology, being a part of it.
Oh man, the best part about writing as part of it. Wow, that's a tough one. The best part, I would say the best part would be knowing that you're not like alone. It's like, especially with like what was the one? The Irresistible Husband series. So there were 3 of us. So it felt like you weren't writing by yourself. It felt like you were writing, even though our books were were separate and we did them on our own, but it still felt like, during our little meetings, complaining that we got to hurry up, deadline is coming, or something like that. So I think the camaraderie, I guess, that kind of forms, maybe that would be the favorite.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine that just being a writer can be a lonely.
Yeah. But then when you're tossing around ideas for a series with others, it's a lot of fun. Just the brainstorming. And, everybody's going, ooh, and we could do this, and we could do that, That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun.
What were you saying, Kim? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just saying it probably just the thought that somebody has your back and that somebody has a shared and common interest as you. And then they get, because you can talk to people at home, but they don't really get it,
Right. Exactly. When you're, staring off into space,
right?
your writer friends, they get it. They get it.
Right. And this is Sherelle. She's been a part of many anthologies.
Hey,
what would be one of the most challenging things about writing an anthology?
About writing an anthology, the most challenging. I guess it would depend on the anthology. The smaller ones, probably the most challenging would be having so many ideas, but you only can use a few of them. Maybe that would probably be one of the challenging ones. I've never been a part of one as big as the Juneteenth, and considering the size, I think it's going pretty well. Because everybody has ideas. So,
right.
But for the most part, I think it's going good. Yeah, I think I could say that for all of the anthology. The hardest part would probably be trying to zone in on the specifics for the series as a whole. I think
that's what I was thinking.
I'm sure once I get off of here, I'll think of other stuff.
Because is it difficult, like when you have to because even though they're individual books, they're connected in the story. The main storyline is connected, correct?
Yeah, it's like some of the series, the collaborations that I've done with where it's only 3 of us. I think each time we had like a spreadsheet, and we would have details about each of our characters, and can kind of pull from that. That really was super helpful. Because then the stories really do feel like, like the characters know each other in each book. The larger series is a little, this was, like I said, my first one with the Juneteenth, Days of Juneteenth. That was a little different because the books are separate, but we have some common thread, like with the Juneteenth celebrations. There's several groups within the collaboration that have collaborated. Yeah, you guys are gonna love that series, by the way. Yeah,
I'm intrigued already. Just
yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, can't wait to read it. Let me see. Somebody asked. I think you may already read what part of the book was the most fun to write?
For the Jenkins family.
Probably all of it with their crazy self.
Wow, that was a tough one because with the Jenkins family, because it was like 5 stories kind of wrapped into one, I liked something different about each one. Which was the most fun to write? I hate to say it, but MJ probably was the most, because you can just do so much with her. And it's just that I try not to get on people's nerves, but I love when she does,
Right.
So I don't know if that's a part of me coming out, feeding into her character, or, but I think hers is the most fun. And then when all the guys get together, I really enjoy those, especially if they're complaining about their wives.
Right. I love the scene with them. I think they were at they were in a sauna or something. And,
yeah.
And they were having their little powwow and like a therapy session.
Right. Yeah. I like all of those guys.
I do too. And So let's get a little bit into the characters themselves. Like
Okay.
we start with Tony, TJ, and Craig.
Yeah.
Um, can you give the audience a little backstory on Tony?
Tony is a plumber by trade, and she's one. When I first started this series, she was one of the 5 who actually ran the company. As they started getting married, her, Jada, Christina, Martina, and Peyton, once they started getting married, that dynamic kind of shifted. But Tony has been with the company. She still plays a major role running the company, and she oversees. She's a plumber. She's the plumber, and she is probably one of the sassiest ones. She's the one that throws pots at you, if she don't like what you're saying. Yeah, so
that's the one you have to duck if you.
Yeah, exactly. And she's probably, in my mind, she's one of the most petite ones too, but she really gives Craig a run for his money.
Yes,
and
I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
Because why did he take her off, man? I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Tony is the reason they really needed that support group, probably. Jada, I tried to show where Jada has grown. She's still vain and still, loves herself. But I tried to show where she's evolved. Now she was a sheet metal worker. Now she's a fashion designer.
Right.
Because she's always been into fashion, and the fineness of everything. And so I tried to show that aspect of her. Christina, I love Christina. She's real artsy and just, very,
Yeah.
you just, in my head, she comes across as one of these people that everybody loves. My sister's like that, where she, she's not artsy like Christina, but to know her as to love her. She's very personable, where I'm a little more reserved, or I won't say standoffish, but I really got to be pulled out in front. And she just walks in, like she's kind of, MJ, Martina
is something else.
She is. And it's hard to describe Martina. She has no filter. She says whatever's on her mind. She loves hard, but she just drives everybody nuts, And then Peyton is like the level-headed one.
Right.
She's not a part of the construction company like she used to be. But she still, kind of takes the lead in so many things with the family. Like with the family reunion, once they started saying they need a family reunion, she's the one that kind of organized everything.
Right. That's who they look to get them all basically to assign who is going to do what.
Exactly. I think I could probably relate to Peyton more than all of them, though.
Yeah. And it reminded me, because we actually, in my family, we usually, ever since I was little, my grandfather, him and his siblings started the family reunions, and it was always in a different state, depending on who lived where. And then after that, the next generation took over, and we had one. I'm in the Detroit area. We had one a few years ago, and I got to see firsthand what it took to put on a reunion, and it's not easy.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work, And then trying to get cooperation from everybody, because everybody got their own idea. You're not going to make half the people happy because they should have did this, should have did that.
Right.
Yeah. They have a huge family. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to accommodate that many. I can only imagine. Woo.
Yeah. Especially, I thought it would be funny when their grandmother handed them her address book that was like
that was funny.
And she's like, I want everybody in this book invited.
And I could just imagine that scene when she did that, when she handed, and of course MJ was the most vocal about This is not going to work now. This is not enough time.
She was talking real tough behind her grandmother's back.
Right.
Kissing up when she was around.
Right. And Sharon, she's saying it's not easy dealing with family. That's true.
Right.
Especially with so many, and
Yeah.
and everybody has their input. One, they want their ideas to be the one that they go with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love too the situation with, well, each one of them actually. I like the situation with Tony and Craig and the adoption.
Yeah.
Love that storyline.
Yeah.
Tony got a little crazy for a minute with her obsession.
Yes.
And I felt so bad for Craig because she wasn't listening to
Right.
his concerns, and he had some very legit concerns.
Right. How did you like the scene with Tony, Jada, and Martina when they were in Tony's office? She had they were telling her basically, at this point, her and Craig were kind of on the outs.
Right.
And Jada showed up and was telling her, that, basically reiterated what Craig was saying, that she was just obsessed,
Yes.
I love that because it actually took Jada to get her to see,
right.
that, she could understand why he did what he did. Because he had real, true concerns that she was like overlooking. And
right. Exactly.
And I could see also because she was her being upset, but I thought too that she took a little bit of the blame because she was trying to figure out how to manipulate him into getting
exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
She forgot about
being used.
Right. She forgot about that part when she was talking about that.
Exactly.
She was done wrong.
She wanted what she wanted,
Yeah. And then but then I love too, even with that, because that was an intense scene. But I still loved how they came together, because of the love that they have for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, really tried to focus on that with each of their stories, no matter what they, were going through. I really wanted that to shine through because, all relationships have issues,
right.
It's just how you, deal with it. Right. That's the perfect way to describe it.
Oh my goodness.
I kind of felt sorry for Craig too. So.
Oh yes, I did. I really did. And then we come to Jada and Zach, and I loved their story as well. And it was a common one because some people find themselves in when one gets a job opportunity that takes them away from home.
Right.
And they're living in separate states.
Yeah.
And how it affects the family.
Yeah. It's interesting. You had asked about the interracial couples. I'm not sure how or why I had Zach, because I think my mindset when writing Jada's original story was I just needed to do something that would take her out of her comfort zone.
Okay.
I think that's how he ended up being a white guy. It wasn't like, yeah, it just kind of happened, with that particular interracial couple.
And but I loved how in sync they were, even though they come from different backgrounds, different cultures.
Yeah.
And they were flowing as far as being a couple. And I love too how she was affected by him being gone, he was affected.
Right.
You don't always see that portrayed either, as the man missing his woman basically and his kid.
Yeah. Because I think it's hard for both parties,
Hey,
when
midnight.
it's split up like that, or when there's that,
is.
you know.
And then the funny scene to me was when who was it? It was Jada and Christina, I believe, and they were watching.
Oh, yeah.
They were watching Zach's broadcast, and the coworker that kept touching them.
That was so much fun to write.
She was ready to get on the plane right there.
Right. That would have been
That was
me.
a fun scene to write.
She was doing too much.
Yeah, because even Christina was like, "Oh, so you see it too," and then it turned out they weren't necessarily saying exactly the same thing. You know?
I could relate though, because that probably would have been me. Like, okay, let me go pack a bag.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was like, "Where are you going?" She's like, "I'm going to Connecticut."
Hello. Let's see. Oh, Ruby, she's saying that coworker.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Louise.
Hey, Louise.
Midnight saying she loved how she handled the situation.
Yeah, because she really could have gone a different route, when she caught them. But
yeah, that could have gone a lot of ways to the left and a lot.
Did you expect it to kind of go the route it went?
No.
Okay.
As far as the way that the coworker handled everything. Well, I knew she was trifling too, but I didn't think she would go that far.
Yeah. What'd you say, Kim?
Because I was on the edge of my seat because I knew all this touchy-feely. I knew it was going to go somewhere, and I was already getting mad for Jada. I was already going hard for Jada because I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get her for her." And I knew it was something fishy because it wasn't that serious about this book. I knew she was going to do something that was going to make me cuss her out myself. And she did. Oh, yep. That's so worked up.
But just like Jada said, you would think with Zach being an ex-football player that he would have been, he would have a
little more aware.
Yeah, he would have picked up on what was going on more than he did. But I like that he just so caught up in his wife that he never even, because he wasn't thinking about her like that.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, I wonder how often that happens, where a guy is
probably a lot. Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm glad he handled it the way that he did because unfortunately not all men would have. He's already missed his wife. That could have been a serious situation where he could have reacted differently and could have took advantage of those advances that she was trying to give him and then took it to another place. And OMG, when Jada came in there, it would have been something.
Oh yeah. I applaud her because I don't know if I could have been that.
But you would have been swinging your purse.
I probably would be swinging my purse. But I love that. Like Midnight said, I love the way she handled it. I like that she trusted him and knew when he said when she saw the fear in his eyes.
Yeah,
she didn't believe him, and she knew that she believed him right away. She knew that he hadn't done anything out of character. Yeah, I love that. What does Ruby say? I didn't expect her to lose her clothes. Yes. Midnight said she didn't think the situation showed how well they were as a couple. Yeah. It did show that, definitely. And I fell in love with Zach when he surprised Jada at the fashion show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It showed what kind of man he was from that.
Yeah. It's funny because I thought about having Martina there.
Oh my goodness, that would have been.
I was like, okay, that would just be way over the top.
That would have been hilarious. Because I think somebody, I don't know who it was, said all she needed was a co-signer. She definitely would have had one.
Oh yeah, I could just totally see that scene play out totally differently.
Yes,
had Martina been there with her.
And speaking of Martina, I loved her and Paul as well in their story. she was
Yeah.
she was getting on my nerves though with her in her mouth.
Yeah, and she was worse than that until
Oh my goodness.
my editor kind of reeled me back in. You know, it's like,
Oh my
okay, let
goodness.
me like move some stuff around and take some stuff out. Yeah, because I just got really carried away with her.
I can't even imagine her being, oh my goodness. And poor Paul, he just didn't know what to do. But you know what? I did see her point though, because he was blaming her for everything, but he wasn't holding his mother accountable for anything.
Yeah.
So I could see her point as well. Don't have me in an environment where you know that, you know, I'm not being treated well.
Right.
Listen to that.
Say you always having people losing their wigs and their clothes.
All I can say is those scenes are so much fun to write.
Oh my goodness.
Midnight Ace is never gonna let me forget the wig scene. That scene in Business Not As Usual. Yeah, I don't know if she'll ever let me forget that scene.
Oh my goodness. And you're right, Ola. MJ would have been in jail. Her and Jada, because they would have been tag team right there.
Yeah, because that could have gone wrong in so many different ways.
Yes. Yes.
But it would have been fun to write.
It definitely would have been fun to write. Kim, what was one of your favorite scenes in the book?
Let me see. Probably the way Paul finally addressed his mother. He wasn't disrespectful, but it was long overdue, apparently.
Yeah.
And for her to be, you know, in the wings, to be able to hear his conviction and his
that was
that was everything for me. That gave her confidence.
Oh, good.
He really got my back, you know.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
I love that too.
Oh, good.
I mentioned one of my favorite scenes was when Zach came to the fashion, surprised Jada with at the fashion show, and trying to think what's another. I love the heart to heart that MJ had with her grams in the kitchen when she thought, you know, when her and Paul were on the outs.
Yeah.
And her grandmother did not hold him up either, though. She was like, you need to shut your mouth. I told you that, mouth.
Especially when she cursed at her. He was like, and then Martina's like, how is it that I can't curse but you can?
Right. Paul stepping out to put, that was good. And it needed to be done. It was far overdue.
Yeah, definitely. I had to have that in there. You know, just so it wouldn't seem like Martina was the only one, you know, in the wrong with that situation.
Right, because and then I like too how he reminded her how his grandfather treated her when she came into the family.
Right.
Yeah.
That one right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's when she definitely had the light bulb went off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that happens in real life. People, for some reason, forget where they come from and get beside themselves. And then, you know, when somebody reel them back in. Okay, this is where you were. I mean,
right.
I love that. It made it come full circle for her.
Finally. Exactly. Like she was reminded, like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah. And moving on to Christina and Luke. He was another one of my favorites because I felt bad for him. You know, his overprotectiveness, but it was coming from a place of fear after losing, you know, so many people that he loved.
Right.
So I really felt for him.
Yeah.
And I loved
what you think about the little bit of suspense in that one.
I loved it, and it reminded me, and it reminded me of your other series.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, that's what I was thinking too. Okay, this is a little bit of her suspense coming through in this series.
If I could, I would put it in every single book.
Because when she disappeared, you know, I was like, oh my goodness. And I loved how well, not love, but it was a great scene when he basically freaked out and he was like, where is my wife? I got to get to my wife.
Yeah, because he thought the worst.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the mention of Atlanta's. Well, we got a little bit of Atlanta's finest.
Yeah. Quentin and Miles.
Yeah,
It's funny because I've been adding them to a few books, and I'm always sitting there like, okay, which one should I add to this one?
Right.
Miles. Well, I love Miles and Kenton for different reasons, so it's like I think I'll use them too this time.
And then you said we get last and the babes.
Last is gonna be him and Angelo will be in the Juneteenth book, Mr. One and Only. Yeah, because the main character is one of Ashton's brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that. But with Luke too, I think him, it's hard for me to say which one was my favorite, but him and Zach, I think, were my tops. And it's just because I think I felt for Luke and
the thug lawyer.
Yeah, every time she called him now, I just cracked up. The thug lawyer.
But that's the kind of man I like.
Okay, yes, you're right. You get both
a little thuggish and smart.
Yes.
To you.
Yeah. I actually wrote him off of somebody I knew years ago. And that always fascinated me, how he was like wicked smart. Right. He can rap everything by Tupac. It was like such a contradiction. But
and I think those are like my favorite type of characters, male characters too.
Yeah.
Where you get from the boardroom to like the basketball court or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Love it. And then we go to Peyton and Michael. And we got a little bit of the suspense with them too.
Oh, that's right. They might be my favorite couple.
I love them too. What is it about them that was your favorite?
I liked Mike from the first book. I really liked him in the first book, and I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy writing their story, but that's how it was with the first book too. That probably was my favorite. Maybe because it was a little, it wasn't real quirky or anything. It was just real life, some of the challenges of that first book. This one, well, yeah, I guess it was some real life situations too.
Yeah, most definitely.
In this one, but yeah, it did have I forgot about that. It did have a little in that one.
Yes, and the danger element, I love that with what happened at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you feel that? Could you feel the panic at all with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you're writing short stories, it's like, man, I don't know if they're gonna really feel this, but I gotta, amp it up so that they can feel it.
I think you did a good job on that. Did you? What you think, Kim, on that scene?
Yeah.
But,
I agree. And then I get so involved, and I would probably read faster if I didn't get so involved. I was so involved, like I can hear when the glass broke. When they threw it.
Oh, good.
I was so, and I was like, oh my God, now I'm trying to wake up the people.
Right. Yeah. And when
every writer loves to hear that, because when you're writing, we think we're putting it all on paper,
right.
But if the reader can't feel what you're trying to,
yeah, I definitely felt it, and I felt the panic with Peyton and the kids as well, and I felt the rage and the anger with Michael. Somebody, putting his family in danger, and his father having to basically, tell him, calm down. Don't end back up in jail.
I know, right? I build y'all once. That's it.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that scene, and then Peyton, where her being homesick and contemplating moving and not wanting to take him away from where he loves too, the
Yeah.
city that
Did
he
you think
loves.
they would relocate?
You know what? I thought I did, because I actually thought that what happened with the house, I thought it was going to be more extensive and it was going to make
Okay.
them have to
Yeah,
leave. Mhm.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did love her conversation with her grandfather in his office, and she was surprised when he said, I think you should stay where
Right,
you
right.
are." Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
just
I went back and forth on that. I think I
yeah,
did write a scene
where they
where
did leave.
I'm like, let's just go back. Yeah, that story, it was a lot that went into that one. Especially
Yeah.
trying to weave one story into the next,
Mm-hmm.
seamlessly, instead of having just like five,
Like
distinct
individual.
stories. I really wanted it to feel like one story, but five.
And you accomplished that. You did
Oh,
to me,
good,
you did an
good.
excellent job in how it flowed, because you just felt like it. You got the story of the extended family, and then when they came together, but you get a little glimpse into each one of their private, them as a couple.
Yeah, I'm glad that came across.
Yeah,
It
most
wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Because in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna work great. And then I start writing, and then I had to write like 50 million love scenes, and it's like, okay, I didn't think this through all the way.
You did a good job on that too, Sharon.
Okay, good.
The love scenes were very good.
That's good. Good to hear. Yeah, because I was like, I can't have them all, one was on the stairs, one
Right.
shower, it's like I gotta move them all around too.
I was trying to see, okay, which one was, but all of them were like up there. I'm telling you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Made me want to remodel and get me that kind of shower. I need me a shower.
You know what, Kim? That's strange, because I was just thinking about the shower scene when you said.
Right. It's like in my head, that's like the dream shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved it. And then in the midst of all of this, they were planning the family reunion on top of everything that was going on in their individual lives.
Yeah.
And that's life too.
It is. Yeah. Because you still got to keep everything moving and do all the extra stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And then we come to Gramps and Gramps. I love them and how they held the family together. And because we got them more than we actually did the parents.
Yeah. And it's always been like that. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I just felt like they were so important right from the beginning, years ago. I just thought it would be, I don't know. Yeah, because I don't show none of the parents that much, Yeah.
Kim, did you have any questions for Sharon?
No, I will say that I like the fact that Grams and Grandpa is there, and they're older, and they get to have an opportunity for us, that lost their grandparents, early on in life.
Yeah.
To see a lasting relationship last that long, and they hold the whole family down. I just love that dynamic. Is awesome. I love it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And then just the respect, that the grands have for their grandparents,
Yes.
I really wanted to show that part,
Absolutely. And it's a blessing, to still have them,
Yeah.
To be able to go to them, and they have years of togetherness to be able to drop wisdom and knowledge and try to say, look, straighten up, before you lose the best thing that ever happened to you.
Right. Exactly.
And so to have that kind of example to use as a reference, I mean, who wouldn't love that,
Okay. We all would love
that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Excuse me, I had to cough. But yeah, you did an excellent. I can't believe the time is here already, but you did an excellent job as usual.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Most definitely. And I was going to ask you. I've started asking the authors this. if is there any other genre besides romance and romantic suspense that you would like to try?
I I enjoy writing romantic comedy.
Hmm.
Not something I would do that often though, because comedy, what's funny to one person is not funny to the next.
True.
I've often thought of, I shouldn't say often, periodically, I'll think of women's fiction because I have a couple of ideas
Hmm.
that I might try in the future. Maybe,
I
maybe,
think
maybe.
you'll be good in that genre, actually. Yeah, I
You
think
think
you would.
so?
Yeah, I think you would.
Yes,
Um,
I might try it. You know.
Ruby is asking, what made you decide to have a formal event during the family reunion when most of that kind of was done with that kind of event?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure because typically with a family reunion, you'll have like the
The
picnic.
picnics. Mhm.
Yeah, so they had the picnic, but some family reunions that I'm not a big family reunion attender, but the ones I have, they usually have a banquet.
Yeah,
Nothing
we had
as
one. The one I was
yeah.
telling you about, we had a banquet. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
nothing as formal as the one that Jenkins had. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure why. I don't know.
It gives people a chance to
Just
to
dress
dress
up.
up and be formal and and let their hair down and like they did have the kids in another location and
Yeah,
it be
yeah.
just for the adults. And I love the way you incorporated um the fireworks too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Oh, thank you.
Hmm. uh would love to see it. What were you speaking of, Chanel? You would love to see.
Oh,
Not
would love
sure
to
what you
see.
were referring to.
Uh,
But we're almost well actually we're past the time, but I want to thank you, Sharon, for coming on the show. I have been wanting to talk to you for a while, so I'm so excited I got a chance for us to actually sit and talk, besides just in comments on Facebook.
right, right. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invitation.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Kim, for coming on to assist me tonight. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I'm so thankful that you even thought of me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're
Nice
welcome.
meeting you, Kim.
Nice meeting you. This was everything. I love it.
Aw.
And thank everybody for joining us. And we'll see you next week. Or I'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.